the supreme sacrifice. Bikram was a king who always kept up his promises. That is why he didn't want to return empty-handed to the sage. But since he had also promised Betal that he would not utter a single word while carrying Betal over his shoulders. Bikram went back to the tamarind tree, brought down the ghost, and carrying him across the shoulders, started walking towards the capital. Betal began narrating another story. The king silently listened to it. A king by name Shudrak ruled over a city called Amravati. He was a noble and brave king. Once a Brahmin by name of Bhirvar sought employment in the king's court. The Brahmin's family consisted of his wife, a son and a daughter. The king knew that this Brahmin was a very capable and courageous worker. He was therefore prepared to pay a good salary to the Brahmin. Birbar wanted 500 gold coins per day. Shudrak was curious to know how the Brahmin spent such a huge amount of money. Birbar was given the job of guarding the main doors of the palace with a sword in hand. The spies appointed by the king reported to him about Birbar's daily routine. Birbar's day would begin by meeting the king in the morning. He would stand guard at the main doors till late in the afternoon, after which he would collect his wages and hand over 100 coins to his wife for household expenses. After taking his bath, he would go to the temples and spend 100 coins for offering puja, etc. Another 100 coins were donated to schools, and the rest of the money was distributed amongst the poor and sick. At the end of the day, the Brahmin would eat his meal and return to the palace entrance. With an open sword in his hand, the alert Brahmin would guard the premises throughout the night. On hearing about this, Shudrak's respect for Birbar grew. He admired the Brahmin's devotion to duty. A few weeks passed. One night, while Birbar was on duty, there was a heavy rainfall. From the walls of the palace, the king spotted a woman with her head on her knees. He heard her crying. The king cared about his subjects very much. He therefore wanted to know why the woman was crying on such a dark, rainy night. So he ordered Birbar to go and find out about the woman. Birbar followed his master's orders and found a beautiful woman in a lonely place, crying bitterly. "Oh, how could this happen? How could I bear it?" She was heard lamenting. Birbar asked her, "Who are you, and why are you crying?" "I am goddess of good fortune," she replied, and added, "All along, King Shudrak was under my protection, but now an evil spirit, which is stronger than me, will be taking away the king's life in 3 days' time. I cannot bear to see the king dead. This is why I am crying." Birbar was shocked to hear about the misfortune awaiting his beloved king, so he wanted to know if there was any way to save the king. "Yes, there is," replied the goddess. "If you are to sacrifice your son before Mahakali, the king will be saved." but you have to do it immediately. Without hesitating for a moment, Birbal decided that he would rather sacrifice his son's life than let the king die. He hurriedly went home and told his wife and son what a goddess had said to him. Shatavavar, his son, immediately offered himself for the sacrifice. Father, let us not delay. Let us go to the Kali temple. I am ready to die, he said. The same night, Birbal with his wife, son and daughter reached Kali's temple. There he beheaded his son and also prayed to Kali. Mother Kali, I am offering my son's head. Accept my offer and bless the king with long life. Birbal's daughter, Kalavati, was so distressed at her brother's death. She died on the spot. Birbal's wife killed herself. Unable to bear the death of her children, Birbal too could not bear the loss of his wife and children. The king's life had been saved and a duty fulfilled. So Birbal, filled with grief, and cut his head with his own sword and died at the feet of Kali. Shudrak, who heard about this incident, came running to the temple. He was full of remorse. Poor people have willingly given up their lives just for my sake. What is the use of me being a king if I don't repay their gratitude with my own life? Now the king also beheaded himself. Betal ended the story and asked the king, Bikram, you have heard the entire story. Now tell me, whose sacrifice was supreme? If you know the answer and still don't reply to me, your head will burst into pieces. The king replied, Betal, to my mind, Shudrak's sacrifice was supreme because he gave up his life for his servant. Betal asked the king, Oh, what basis do you say that? Bikram replied, Birbal had taken a vow to protect the king, and so he sacrificed his son. Birbal's daughter and wife died because of the death of their loved ones, and Birbal's son, Birbal too, whereas Shudrak needn't have to die for the sake of his servant and his family. That's why Shudrak's sacrifice was supreme. Right you are, praised Betal. But since you talked, I am going back to the tree. Saying this, Betal disappeared from Bikram's shoulder and hung himself upside down at the tamarind tree.